It's showtime.
All right. Carl Hamburger, fresh from vacation. How are you, Carl?
I am very well, Drew. What's going on? I'm starting to get the sense that Mark is avoiding me.
No, he's avoiding everyone.
Okay, it's not just me.
He's not well. He's very sick. He's been
every
sick.
time I show up here, he's got another excuse. He's on vacation. He's sick.
That's right.
You know, he drove his car into a tree and can't drive anymore.
Hey, that's me. That was me.
That is a little,
I forget who's who sometimes.
That's a little odd that every other Tuesday he seems to be off. But anyway, we were just talking about something. I don't know. You might be too young to even understand this. Did you know that some people, including myself, were forced to swim nude in gym class in high school because they made the whole class swim nude?
I've heard you talk about this before. So obviously, you know, it was divided between the guys and the girls, right?
Yeah, the girls had suits. And so naturally, you know, we were always like, why did they make us swim nude? What the fuck? And so some people would ask. And the story was that the fibers from the swimsuits would screw up the filters. That was one of the excuses. One of the other excuses was, well, they're not going to pay for swimsuits for every kid in school. It's like, but they pay for the chick suits. There was no good reason given.
No, you had a gay gym teacher for sure.
Yes, and there was an incident. There was a very gayish incident, too, in one of the swimming classes. But I don't know. I've been reading more and more about these stories where other people are saying this happened. It's mostly in the Midwest. But had you ever heard of this? People being forced to swim nude in high school gym?
Didn't happen where I'm from. I can tell you that. I've talked to my older siblings, my parents. They did not experience this.
Had you ever heard of it before you heard it from me?
I think I've heard of it, but didn't think it was real. You know, it's like one of those things. It's just like I had to walk uphill both ways to school, and we swam naked. It's like, no, you didn't. Shut up. That's
funny. No, it absolutely happened. My sister said there was some weird shit, too, when they were in high school that had happened, I think, before they got there, where they made girls take pictures for postures in their underwear, I think. I think that's what the story was. It might not even been underwear. I'll have to get that straight.
Were you a late bloomer? Is this why you're so traumatized by this?
No, not terribly. I was fairly normal, but it was just weird. Like, you know, there was life savings where you had to put your arm around somebody's neck and swim them to the side of the pool, which is kind of weird when you're nude.
Did you guys ever have to dock each other when you get out of the pool? Is there any of that going on?
You guys have to dry each other off?
You know, you'd think there would be tons of boner stories, but I only remember one person being accused of having a boner, but there was a special ed guy who was masturbating we had to sit down on these like wooden benches while the teacher was describing a stroke or something that had to be done that day.
Stroke.
He was pounding off, was rock hard. I mean, turgid. And the teacher told him to knock it off, and he didn't. And he actually had to go over and pull his wrist and pull his hand off his dick. I swear to God.
Carl, are you beating up? I'm retarded. I swear to God. I can't get in trouble for this.
His name is David Puala, otherwise known as Puala, because he's referenced frequently when I get together with high school friends.
Drew, the story that I think of, not to make this about Stuttering John, but did a show with him last year, and I interviewed him about his biggest regret. I asked him, you know, what regrets do you have? The first thing he thought of was not playing high school football. And he said the reason why he didn't is because he didn't get pubes. Like he went through puberty late. He didn't want to change in front of the other teammates without any pubes on his dick. So, I mean, that is traumatic for people.
As a freshman in high school, weren't there a fair amount of people, though? Was that really that unusual?
Honestly, if you're trying out for the football team and you're prepubescent, stop right there.
That's a little strange, but
bad idea.
Didn't he race someone from the Stern Show? Didn't you want him to say, "I'm faster than you," and they had a race?
Yeah, it was a tight end. It was a well-known tight end too.
For the Giants, or was he going to try out for the arena football team?
Yes, he thought he was good enough. That's the great thing about delusional John, is that he thinks he could do anything and everything. He was challenging. He talks about what a great baseball player he was. Then we recently found footage of him doing a celebrity softball game. He couldn't hit it out of the infield.
No, he does not strike me as an athlete. And the only reason I knew that was because I saw him racing someone, and they were beating him by a lot. And then he came up lame like, "Oh, my hammy."
Oh, my arm, it's broken.
Yeah. Oh, my hamstring. Yeah, he stopped before the end, alleging he was hurt. But why don't we? Did you send a couple jokes from John's or a couple of?
I did. I'm excited about this. So this past weekend, John did stand up at an actual comedy club, the Boca Black Box.
Right on.
And he's been there before. He knows the owner. So we had some friends of the Dabbleverse, some listeners to the shows show up there to check it out.
Of course.
And I'm happy to say this guy, David, sent me an email Sunday morning and said, hey, I went to John's show last night. I recorded the entire stand-up set. So I'm going to break this down tomorrow on WATP live on our YouTube channel, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Tune in. I'm also going to have the guy, David, who's recording him on the show to discuss what he witnessed and what he observed while he was there.
Well, what a small world the Dabbleverse has made this. I mean, no problem finding people in Boca, was it? Did you say?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty incredible. No matter where John goes, someone's going to show up to record him.
That's great. So how did the performance go?
Well, I'll tell you this. He actually has a very generous audience. People were ready to laugh.
Nice.
So that's good for him. And hopefully it builds up his self-confidence. He keeps working on this one-man show. Here's the good news. I brought a couple of clips for you. We'll hit more tomorrow on WATP, but I think you're going to enjoy these because I had never heard these jokes before. I think John is actually writing new material.
New material. This is great.
Wow, I'm pumped.
Yeah, if you want to do my clip 16, he's making a joke about the HOV lane, and this goes sideways.
But I drive in the HOV lane. What does this stand for?
High occupancy vehicle.
High occupancy. I can't fucking spit it out. Give me another beer. Let me clear my mind. High occupancy vehicle. Which, thank you. Which makes sense because I'm always occupying my vehicle high. But you know.
Well, he got an applause break for pronouncing the word correctly finally.
What was the punchline?
So the high occupancy vehicle, he's always high when he's occupying his vehicle.
Oh, okay. Wow, I missed that. That seems like it. He must have had that joke a long time ago. I don't believe that's a new joke.
Maybe
There's a lot of speculation when John was a writer on The Tonight Show, quote unquote, a writer. Another funny thing about this set, and I'll play it tomorrow on WATP, is the person who introduces John to the stage has to say, this is John from the Howard Stern Show and the Tonight Show, where he was a writer at both shows. Like, he made it clear to her, make sure you tell everyone I was a writer on both shows.
Nobody does that.
No, you just say it's from the Howard Stern Show and Tonight Show. It's Stuttering John. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh, my
God.
God.
Say he's a writer.
Oh, are people in his head?
There is speculation, though, that he started working on his stand-up routine when he was on the Tonight Show, that he got some of the writing staff to help him out. Because some of these jokes you go, okay, that's probably a comedy writer who wrote that for him. He doesn't deliver it well. It's not in his voice. That might be an example of that.
Well, I'm excited to hear example number 2. And, of course, the many more you'll have tomorrow.
All right, you're going to love this one, Drew, because there's a lot of Star Wars references. I know you're a huge Star Wars fan.
Yes.
But he's still talking about driving in the left-hand lane and how difficult this can be.
Drinking and smoking weed it doesn't work, sir. I know you're a big fucking stoner, but it doesn't work. You know, because you always get paranoid, right? Smoking weed. It was like the other night, like I'm sitting there going, I know there's a cop behind me. I know there's a cop behind me. Then I pull out of the driveway. And but it's weird. And then, and then you fucking, okay, who's the idiot that put the big wall next to the fast lane, but the grass next to the slow lane? Like, you ever notice that? Like, I'd be driving in the fast lane stoned, and you got the wall on the side of you got thick cars on the other, and I'd be paranoid, thinking I'm Luke Skywalker flying to the goddamn Death Star. I got my son strapped in the back like R2-D2. Fucking hell.
You gotta love a joke where he's really fucked up and he's got his son strapped in the back.
Like R2-D2.
Like I said, generous laughter throughout this set. No one was enjoying that.
No.
Carl, how old is that joke? His son strapped in the back?
Oh, okay, that's a good point. It's been many, many years since he's driven his son around.
That's insane. That's the best.
Point.
That's the best example.
Did you get the Star Wars reference though, Drew?
Yeah. The Death Star, huh?
I guess, yes.
As a fan of Star Wars, that sucked out loud. Not a good reference at all, and nobody cared for it.
No, I was just taken aback by this is obviously an old joke.
I like the first part, though, where he goes, like when you're paranoid and you think there's a cop behind you, and then you pull out of your driveway? It even does the,
I could swear. I feel like I've heard that joke before.
Probably. His transitions, too, are so bad. What kind of stand-up does that? It's hard for the audience to watch it because your skin is crawling for the performer.
Yeah. No, it's painful.
To the freaking punchline.
That's what's hard about open mics is it's really painful, but it's a real life experience, but you should not have that when someone is headlining who's been on 2 big shows like that. And I'm astounded that the first show he did, was that not fairly word for word his old routine?
Oh, yeah. The first show he did all the old jokes we've heard before. The thing he added to it, though, because he's been bragging about writing this one-man show, and he's done with the Dabbleverse. He's going to go on tour with his one-man show. The thing he added to it was a chapter out of his book. I actually put a video together. It's on our YouTube page where I scroll through the book, and also while the audio is playing, it's just word for word.
I would think just because of you and the Dabbleverse that he would have to change his act significantly because otherwise he would be so busted. But he's so lazy, he didn't even do that.
Lazy is the right word for it, too, because you or me, we would do anything to come up with some new material, something fresh, something that people don't know us for. And John just is like, oh, no, I already wrote something 7 years ago. I'll just use that.
Is that 7 years old, that set? Is it not? Are you sure it's not older than that?
Well, I'm talking about the new chunk that he did out of his book.
Oh, okay.
Like that was the new thing he added, but that was written it came out in 2018. It was written in 2017.
Mm-hmm. And are they written like stand-up? Aren't they written more for a book?
Yeah, it didn't work at all. It got a horrible reaction from the crowd. No one liked it.
Oh, God. Oh, he wants out so bad. He just can't. So he came back for one day, or he didn't? He came back briefly?
Yeah, he did a show on March 1st. He was talking about it back in February. He said, I'm coming back for one show March 1st. He says I'm going to do 2 political shows coming up as well. But the March 1st show, he said, I have to do this because I have a very special guest and I have to do this show. So he has Richard Roer on. And he immediately says, guys, I'm not going to read any super chats that are about the Dabbleverse. We're just going to talk to Richard Roer about the Academy Award nominees, and that's it. And that's all it was, just a very dry, boring interview.
Carl,
with Richard.
He had Richard Roer on, and he took super chats at all?
Oh, he was allowing people to give him money. He just wasn't going to read that.
Isn't it kind of embarrassing, though, to have a national guest like Richard Roer and take super chats?
Well, Richard Roer has to be sitting in the green room, what they call it on StreamYard. He's watching John's show while John's going, no, I just want you to know I'm not going to read anything from the Dabbleverse. Richard Roer is sitting going, what is this all about?
Awkward.
But he could have just interviewed him, and he wouldn't have had to do any of that if he
John's
wasn't
not a
taking
smart
super
guy.
chats.
It's true. Come on.
Oh, my God.
He's not a smart guy. You know that.
Wow. So was John, do you think he was super pleased with his Richard Roer interview?
Oh, I'm sure he's thrilled with it. Yeah.
How was it?
I didn't watch it.
It was a flaming pile of shit.
All right.
I turned it on. We were at this place called Luckenbach, which is like the birthplace of country music or something.
Luckenbach, Texas. Hell yeah. It's a Waylon Jennings song.
Exactly. We were in Luckenbach, Texas. We were watching some good old-fashioned country music and celebrating. It was Texas Independence Day that day, so I couldn't be bothered with all this Stuttering John nonsense.
Yeah, not in Luckenbach, Texas. That's way too cool. Oh, I love that song. Did you ever heard the song before?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
I am familiar.
Okay. All right, so we won't steal Carl's thunder. He's got a whole alignment of John stuff from the stand-up tomorrow, but where are we going? We're going to Caller Daddy with Monica Lewinsky as the guest?
No, actually, what I decided to do, Monica Lewinsky dropped a new episode of Reclaiming with Monica Lewinsky just today.
Great.
Her guest is Caris Swisher.
Oh.
Now, this dropped earlier today. It has just under 1,700 views so far. She has 9.4 thousand subscribers to her new YouTube page.
Not bad.
She's on Wondery.
Yes.
Yeah.
And her sponsors are Audible and a clothing company that she calls Reformation, but I think it's Reformation. I don't know. I would pronounce it, but what do I know?
Well, I heard her on Alex Cooper, Call Her Daddy, huge show. And she's talking about, her new podcast. God, if we only could all have this much promotion when we started podcasting, wouldn't that be great? But I thought that Alex Cooper is much better than what I heard before. And Monica it was not a bad podcast. I sort of thought, I don't know if Carl's going to get a lot out of this. So I kind of steered you away from it. But you found some stuff on Monica's show itself.
Yes. Now, there's a few things going on here that I want to point out. First off, if you know who Caris Swisher is, right?
I don't. I probably should.
Yeah, she's been in mainstream media for over 3 decades. She does a podcast called Pivot with Scott Galloway. And it's Adam Curry's favorite hate listen. So I get to hear clips on No Agenda where he'll pull up Caris Swisher because they do not like her.
Oh, it sounds like something I need to listen to. If Adam hates it, I probably hate it too. Adam's podcast is great. I love it. You turned me onto it.
Yeah, Adam Curry's fantastic. Him and John C. Dvorak. So it starts off, and a lot of these shows do this now when you have an interview. They got to do the cold open teaser where it shows you some highlights of what you're going to see. But I've never seen anything like this. They hit on so many different things that you're about to see, and so all of it's out of context. You have no idea what they're talking about. My clip number 1.
For anyone who doesn't know you, can you give them context?
Who doesn't know me? He'd follow you to the bathroom to
Are you serious?
Of course, because he was crazy.
I remember I was asking you if you knew anybody single at some point.
Yeah.
You were like, here's the deal. If you end up with someone I set you up with and they have a plane, I get to ride on the plane whenever I want. I was like, that is a totally fair deal.
Elon Musk is the opposite. He's removed anyone who disagrees with him from his environment.
Right.
And therefore he's in desperate need of attention and love.
He answered every question I asked him.
Yeah, he used to be that way.
But he didn't ask me any questions.
I love my kids. It's the best thing I've ever done. It's the only thing I think worthwhile. If you have to pick, it would just be the kids. That would be it. Is their prickishness too big to account for their productivity? If they created something that was amazing, how much of a prick can I take? Some of them are misogynists, no question, but it's not quite as crystal clear as that. They think they're better. Men can't actually create life and they can't sustain it to birth. AI is so they can make life. They want to make bots. They want to create beings. It's their way of being pregnant.
That's a teaser?
That goes on for over a minute. And they hit on so many different things. Like she just says, he followed me to the bathroom. Oh my gosh, he did? That was talking about John McLaughlin from the McLaughlin Group. Like, you don't know that. You're like, okay, whatever.
That was just so bad. I would never want to watch that show based on watching that minute. In fact, most of the time when people run those things ahead of time, like the Golden Hour does, it makes me go, oh, this is the best thing on the show? Fuck this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll usually, like the Golden Hour does it, and there'll be like a big laugh. And it's kind of out of context, but you go, oh, they're having fun on this episode. That thing, you watch that and you go, oh, this looks like a horrendous, tedious conversation.
Oh, when she said that lady said something, like Caris Swisher said something about taking a prick or I was like, oh, ew. I mean, cringe, hars.
Well, when she said she loves her kids, I'm like, well, I got to stick around for that part. Groundbreaking stuff right there.
No, she scared me. I could just feel an evil eye from Cara Fisher just looking at her.
Yeah, she is intense, and I'm going to prove to you she's a bad person. That's my tease. That's coming up.
Because I'm sure she hates me. I already know that.
Oh, I'm sure she does. True.
And
she hates a lot of people, it turns out.
Okay.
So it starts off with these 2 women, and they do what women do best. They just start blowing smoke up each other's asses. Clip number 2.
We're interviewed for a documentary on public shaming and cancel culture.
Yes, that great documentary you did.
Thank you, that I exec produced. And we still didn't meet in person because of COVID then. And then the first time we actually met in person was when you interviewed me for Sway.
My favorite interview.
Oh,
I have to say, when people ask me, people are like, what's your favorite? And they're expecting me to say Steve Jobs, which I also liked, or Bill Gates, or Mark Zuckerberg, or Elon Musk. And I always say that interview was really one of my best interviews.
Oh, thanks, Kara. That was, it was special.
Wow.
Steve Jobs invented the iPhone, and this chick blew the president when she was 22. Both great interviews. I also hate the thing that Kara just said, and I never believe people when they say this. They're like, "Oh, people ask me all the time, who was my favorite interviewee?" Like, do they really though? Is that really the question you get? They're just so enamored with your life and what you've done.
Rarely do I ever get asked that myself, and rarely do I think of asking someone else that, unless it's someone who does. I ran into Barbara Walters maybe, and I was just not thinking I might stupidly ask that. But when I think of great interviews, I don't think of Caris Swisher.
Yeah, she's not the Larry King of tech.
I don't think so.
No.
But my God, she sure did line up some big names there. Wow, that was some serious name dropping.
Oh yeah. Do you like that?
Bill
she had
Gates,
to make sure.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Even though she was blowing smoke up Monica's ass, she had to make sure she'd be like, by the way, I interview real people too, just so you know.
Of course.
Not all Monica Lewinsky's. So my clip number 3 here, and you're going to find out that Monica is concerned about her imposter syndrome. And I believe rightfully so. I mean, you're familiar with imposter syndrome, right?
Can you explain it?
It's basically you're in a job that you don't think you're qualified for, and you're constantly worried that everyone's going to figure that out. I've worked with people like this throughout my career. I'm sure you have too.
Sure.
And so Monica has this lack of confidence, and she's worried that Kara's going to sniff this out.
I think I'm an authentic person, but trying to find myself out there as an adult in different ways has been hard.
Sure, but look at your record. I mean, it's very easy. Why would I be hard on someone who has handled themselves with such grace?
Yeah. So, well, thank you.
Well, it's true. You made one mistake, big mistake, but you've acted better than pretty much everybody in this entire time.
That was a big mistake too.
Well, here's my question, because first off, one mistake, she had an affair with the president for 18 months. So, I mean, there were cigars going in places and things getting spilled on dresses. There's a list of things. That's one mistake.
And he was the president. It wasn't just an affair.
But Drew, isn't that victim blaming to say that Monica made the mistake?
Well, I would say the mistake is larger in Bill Clinton's case. He's the one that's married. She certainly lost much more than anyone else could ever lose. But I don't know, to fuck the president, I think she was in love with him. I mean, honest, if I had to guess, I think she thought he was in love with her.
Drew, dare I say there might have been a power imbalance?
Yes, slightly.
Maybe there.
Yeah, I forgot 18 months. It doesn't, like, thinking back, and I thought, wasn't that just a few months? 18 months that was going on.
I had to look it up. Yeah, I wanted to look because I was like, how long did that go on for? That's a long time.
I feel like the numbers expanded because I heard her talking about it, and she said, I think 18 months or something. I was like, wow, I don't know that. Did they say that at the beginning that it was that long? I don't recall that. That's a long time.
He got away with it for a long time. Yeah. Pretty impressive. So now we're going to move on to Caris Swisher telling this anecdote about her time working as a writer for the McLaughlin Group. And tell me if this even makes sense.
And so he would line people up by height and say dust ball, and someone had to get it under the couch. These were all Republicans. I was not, so I never did it.
Dust ball?
So John McLaughlin would line up all the employees by height and then make someone pick up like the dust bunny that's under the counter or something. but they're Republicans.
I don't know I don't know what she's talking about. That's so bizarre.
Was there anything out of context? I promise you, there was nothing before or after that explains any of that. She just threw that in the middle. I was like, what is she talking about?
Was there any further explanation than that?
Nope. And Monica did not have any follow-ups for it either. Monica, by the way, is not a good interviewer.
I didn't think she would. She's, I thought she did well on Call Her Daddy, but she's answering questions she's answered a million times.
Yeah. And by the way, my takeaway is Monica's very put together. She looks better than she ever did in the night.
I agree. She looks pretty good.
No, I totally agree.
She's fantastic. I mean, if you said, yeah, this chick had an affair with a sitting president, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Whereas at the time, we all went, what?
Yeah, what was up with that beret back then?
I got to tell you, listening to her on Call Her Daddy, I couldn't believe she said at one point, she asked, Alex asked her, when were you angry? And she said, well, probably around 2007 when I got out of graduate school and I couldn't get a job because I was Monica Lewinsky. And I was like, it took her that 9 years to get mad at Bill Clinton or at everything? That's incredible. And she's one of those super positive people, who just seems to see the bright side of everything, but 9 years, how could she not have been furious? He sicked the whole world on her while he said he didn't do it.
Yeah, they dragged her through the mud on that.
Yeah, every night on cable TV, I don't know if you were watching that or you remember, but, CNN or whatever networks were there, when they had that evening talk, it was all about how, she probably fantasized this and she had an affair with her college professor, so she's, a deviant. But they were just trashing her night after night after night, and nobody believed her. That was the point. Don't believe her until... the DNA came out.
It does depend on what the interpretation of is.
Yes.
Before you really know. But yeah, some people just like being famous. So maybe in Monica's 22-year-old brain, she's like, I'm on TV every night. I don't know. It's weird, though, that she wouldn't be angry about it, though.
I swear to God, I think she was in love with him. I did. Because she said when he denied it, which was early, months earlier, she said she was glad because it was nobody's business. And she didn't want him, I don't want him to lose his job.
Right. Yeah, because as soon as he's out of the presidency, that he leaves Hillary, and they live happily ever after in Little Rock. Sure.
Yeah, she was very, very young and very foolish, and I think he gave her little gifts all the time, and
books and shit.
She thought he loved her.
He's smooth, man. That's the thing about being a politician, is that when they're engaged with someone, they make you feel like you're the only person in the world. And yeah. Bill is great at that.
He makes guys feel that way.
Exactly right. That's what I mean.
There was one day, and I'm not sure, it might have been the day she had to talk. She had to speak to somebody, or maybe she's being deposed. He wore the tie she gave him.
Oh. There you go. That's the attention to detail that us guys will never get right. So we can't be politicians.
No, that's pretty brilliant, I got to say.
Great.
And she was a good girl for a long time for him. Really good girl. She could have just trashed the shit out of him. She could have gone on any show. She could have picked up the phone, called anyone, said, "Yep, I want to give out details. I'm ready to talk."
Yeah, but he was so popular. That's the thing. If it was Trump today, Monica Lewinsky would be the biggest star on the planet.
Well, I'm just saying she could have said, "Of course I slept with him. I slept with him here. I slept with him here. Here's this. Sure. Here's this thing I got from him. Whatever." She could have gone through the whole thing, but she didn't. She shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I know. I'm just saying, like, the news media, I don't think would have invited her on 60 Minutes for interview after interview if that's what she was saying, because they all loved Bill. They didn't want Bill to get
But
impeached.
she never really did one for a long time. And then she talked to Tom Green.
Was that the first interview she did?
That was the first. Wasn't that the first big one? That was in a documentary, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think they talked about any of the specifics.
No, they didn't. No, it was just all in fun. They were just fucking around.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Which is why she did it. Yeah. No, smart move on his part.
Well, let's see what she learned about interviewing by being interviewed by guys like Tom Green and the like. So my clip number 5, this is interesting because she says something, again, blowing some smoke up some asses. And it's funny that Caris Swisher just takes us in stride and agrees.
You have lots of superpowers. And I think one of the other things that's so interesting about you is that you're sort of this modern day Cassandra, for what's happening in technology. Like
I'm so sorry to be right.
Yeah,
that I
exactly.
am. I was,
exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it was like,
and she's agreeing with it the whole time. Yes, I'm great. I have superpowers.
What came next? What did I miss?
I mean, and then they get into, you predicted that Facebook was going to lead to all this propaganda, and you thought this was going to happen and that. And she's like, yep, I did. I wrote that down. Yep, I knew it.
How is it I'm not familiar with this incredible person?
I'm surprised. She's an amazing modern day Cassandra. I don't know how you didn't know about this.
Did you run into her via Adam Curry?
I know her basically from No Agenda because they cover all mainstream media. Otherwise, this is not something that would be on my radar.
Wow. Yeah, she freaks me out right away. And why is she kissing her ass like this? That's disgusting.
Oh, this is a love affair that they have, which you can see some of the cracks in Monica on that question where she's not really sure of herself and not really sure what words she wants to have. And we're going to see that come in here pretty much in full effect on my clip number 6, where they're talking about Elon Musk, and she is getting lost. And she doesn't know how to give a follow-up question. She doesn't even know what Kara's talking about.
I was like, no, he's going to back Trump, and he's got to pay for it because he's in big trouble if not. And he did. He invested $118 million, and he's worth $77 billion more. So excellent investment.
Wow.
Including Twitter now, which looked like a bad investment, but now looks like a good one because it's not about Twitter, it's about influence and power.
Yeah. He's playing what do they say? It's like chess on 12 levels?
Not really. I think he
No?
just understands his existential crisis if Kamala Harris became the president. I think that was something he was quite aware of.
Okay.
Although I doubt she would have gone after him the way he's going to be going after people.
Interesting.
See, everything these people say, every accusation is a confession with someone like that.
Wait, say that again?
Every accusation is a confession. He was
That's very interesting.
She said interesting twice. That's very interesting.
You can only say that once.
Yeah, she's not following. She's not picking up what Kara's putting down on this one.
Oh, and Kara, couldn't you have just said, yeah, when she said, that's like chess on 12 levels? No.
Yeah. Well, because in Kara's mind, that was a compliment to Elon Musk, who she hates.
Right.
She's like, no. It's just, he just had to do that because he had no other way to go about it. She was talking about how if Kamala had been elected, Elon Musk would have been in prison or something. Like she's very on the side of that Elon Musk is nefarious and should have been shut down, but because he's buddies with Trump, he's getting away with all this stuff. Anyway, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but at the end of that clip, you heard her say this idea that every accusation is a confession. And I've heard this a lot in politics where they go, oh, they're saying what they're actually doing. They're accusing the other people of doing it. So Kara says that about Elon Musk, and she's also talking about all the other Republicans and Trump's crew. And then not long after that, my clip number 9, she's talking about her stepfather and her mother, and she describes them as both narcissists.
So she's a narcissist.
Yeah.
Narcissist. Again, I know narcissism.
Yeah.
And so it was, because she was in love with him. Like, that happens a million times.
Yeah. I understand falling in love with a narcissist.
Yes, you do. Exactly, right? What do you do? And she's a narcissist herself. And so he's a malevolent one. I don't know what's going on with her, but...
So it's so funny that after saying every accusation is a confession, very woke dad-esque. And woke dad likes to say that his mother of his children is a narcissist. Meanwhile, he goes, I have a couple clips if we have time later.
Sure.
Meanwhile, he goes out and talks about how amazing he is as a father. I don't
Oh yeah, and what a great friend he is to LGBTQ and an advocate.
Right.
And, what a self-affirming dad he is, and oh my God, yeah, it's ghastly. But,
so I just thought that was funny that the Kara is not even aware that she's doing what she's complaining about.
A malevolent narcissist.
All right, my clip number 7. This one is more of a visual, but you'll probably pick up on it if you're listening. The editing here shows me that they really had to help out Monica quite a bit on this interview.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about was around these early experiences you had in your family. And you wrote this really incredible article in 1989 for the Washington Post. And there's this quote from there. And I thought maybe you want to read it. Sure. Oh, this is lovely.
Oh, wow.
That was a glaring edit.
One question?
Yeah, that was a lot. There was a few edits in there.
I think I saw 3 or 4. Did you see more than that?
Yeah, I think I saw 4.
Whew. Just edit the whole question. When you got to edit a question 3 times, you just take the question out.
I can only imagine what she got caught up on. But she goes, you wrote this article in 1989. Do you want to read a segment from it? I went, that's weird. 1989 is a long time ago. She wrote an article with the Washington Post, and here's do you want to read it?
What was it about?
I have the clip. She does read this, and I was surprised this is the direction they were going in.
Oh, this is lovely. I can easily recall sitting on the bathroom floor under the sink as my father shaved in the mornings. I used to put my cheek up against the pipe because the warmth of the water rushing down, it was comforting to me. The soft hairs of my father's legs trapped bits of water from the steamy air of the bathroom, and as he shifted his legs, suddenly releasing the drops as he moved. It amazes me that I can recount those times so easily, but not the last night he said goodbye to me. It's a nice piece. Like, it's funny what you remember, right? In the digital world, everything is remembered.
Yeah.
And there you have bits and pieces of information.
And how old were you?
5.
5.
Just turned 5 when he died. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, taking showers with him?
I don't know if I believe that.
Is that an odd thing that Monica's like, hey, read this part of your article? Why wouldn't she sum it up? You know, you talked in the Washington Post back in 1989 about your father passing away and your only memory. Like, wouldn't that be the way I can't imagine that I would hand someone, so I'd be like, here, read this thing that you wrote 40 years ago.
It's a weird thing to want her to read too. And right away, I was like, wait, 5 years old and she remembers the warmth of the water from the pipe next to her cheek?
Yeah.
Really?
Drew, this whole thing, the show got out of control right there, because then she starts talking about when her kids turned 5 and she realized how attached they were to her, and then she realized how attached she was to her father when he passed away, but she's been dealing with this thing, so they got into this whole, everything's about mental health these days. You got to understand. You got to get into trauma.
I feel bad for Monica. This is a bad choice for her to interview on one of her early podcasts, because unlike most famous people who get podcasts, they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be great. She actually was like, oh, I've never interviewed people. I don't know how to interview people. I mean, I hope I can do this well. And you need someone who's, friendly fire, or somebody who's kind, who will kind of help you along. And there are lots of people to interview like that. Not this lady.
Drew, you set this up so perfectly, my last 2 clips.
Okay,
because
great.
We're going to find out what a raging bitch Caris Swisher is. And what she says in my clip number 10, it's going to make Monica so self-conscious. It would make any of us self-conscious. Oh. She's talking about how she quit a job once.
Impolite. I just am honest, I guess. And they said, why are you leaving? And I said, oh, all right, if you want to know. And I said, okay, tell me. And I go, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And they're like, what? And I said, I have, so many minutes on this earth. And right now I'm wasting them on talking to you. And I just don't want to talk to you anymore, ever. And they're like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, that's really it. I'm tired of talking to you. And I haven't talked to them since.
Wow.
I feel good about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you...
I like talking to you. You're not wasting my time.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
I won't waste my time. I walk out of things. I'm like, I have to go now.
I'll try to not piss you off.
No, you don't. It's not pissed off. It's like literally I'm aware of how many minutes.
Right.
What a bitch.
Oh my God.
She quit a job by telling her boss, yeah, I never want to talk to you again. You're wasting my time.
And I wonder where she was in her career at that point. I mean, who would brag about being such a fucking bitch?
Yeah, I know. What an asshole she is. And she really takes it as a badge of honor.
Yeah, look
In
how
fact,
cool I am.
My last clip on here, clip 11, we're going to find out what her favorite app is on her phone.
Oh,
This is crazy.
It was interesting. I read somewhere this, just this sentence or statement, whatever, about that we never know when our last breath is.
We don't.
And I just thought that sort of reframed.
I have an app on my phone called We Croak, which I love. It's a little frog.
Croak?
We Croak. It's my favorite app on my phone. Look, there's one coming in. It has a little frog on it. In Bhutan, if you think about death 5 times a day, you're happier. Because you're like, oh, I'm going to die. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to not do this. I'm going to make better choices.
I mean, is it jujitsuing, like how people experience death?
It's a Buddhist thing. Like you realize that everything is ephemeral, right? That ultimately.
Jiu-jitsuing.
Oh my God. She's so obnoxious. And what was Monica's first line there about knowing when your last breath is? Who the fuck knows when their last breath is? Nobody knows that.
They say you never know when your last breath is. Like, okay, do they?
Who says that?
Yeah.
And who argues with that?
Who has a app on their phone that reminds them they're going to die 5 times a day? That can't be good for your mental health. There's no way.
No, that's terrible. Oh God, she's so. Oh. I'm really kind of excited to listen to her show just to hate watch it a couple times. I have a feeling I'm going to really find a great hate watch there.
Oh, Pivot with Caris Swisher and Scott Galloway. Like I said, Adam Curry will pull in clips from time to time because they are so enraging.
What is the guy like? Because she must hate men, right?
Oh yeah, she hates men. She's a lesbian. Well, actually, she says at one point that she actually likes men better than women, but it's only because she doesn't have to sleep with them.
Oh, she's such a prize.
I
oh my
know.
God, she's gross.
Well,
and ugly.
I pulled some clips here. I just have a couple. But this made news on TMZ today. This was a podcast that dropped yesterday, the Armie Hammer Time podcast starring Armie Hammer.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, we covered him on this show a month or two ago when he started up this podcast. And we found out the reason why Armie Hammer wants to eat his girlfriends and all the crazy things he wants to do with them is because his mom is such an uber Jesus freak that it fucked him up to the point where I don't know if he can be repaired.
Yeah, she was bizarre, no question.
That's
and
what
that
we
came
got
across.
That's what we got from those clips last time. Yeah.
She was overbearing. So there's a lot going on with Armie Hammer. When we talk about mental health, he has a guest on there, Danny Drews. And it says that Danny Drews is an actress, producer, and mental health coach.
Nice.
And she has she's there for a conversation on addiction, recovery, and the chaos of navigating Hollywood, both in and out of sobriety.
So people are paying mental health coaches?
Oh, you don't have one?
No, I don't. What does it cost to have a mental health coach?
How much you got?
That's the answer.
Of course it is. It's Hollywood.
Can you imagine putting your shingle up? I'm a mental health coach. I mean, anyone could be a mental health coach. Anyone.
Oh my gosh. The first time you're with me as your mental health coach, I'm like, all right, there's an app I want you to get. It's called I Croak or We Croak, whatever it was.
Wow. I mean,
I want you to read about how you're going to die 5 times a day.
I thought life coaching was a phenomenal grift, but a mental health coach, that might even be better.
Dick Masterson has a buddy of his. He's been a buddy forever who's like overweight and drinks too much and has got a bunch of issues. And he calls him his life coach as a joke. But like the listeners to the show don't always pick up on like, I was hanging out with my life coach yesterday. And
I want to Google, how much should I budget for my mental health coach?
Oh, yeah, that's a good
I
question.
wonder what Google would say to that.
I mean, are you meeting twice a week, 5 times a week? How often are we talking to our mental health coach?
God.
All right, so this is the big news that came out, and Drew and I talked briefly about this today. I want to get yours and Brandon's opinion on whether this is real or not. My clip number 12. So Danny's talking about how for a while she was only sleeping with girls, and it's not because she's a lesbian or bi. It was just because she was kind of freaked out about guys in Hollywood and so decided to sleep with girls instead, but she's not really gay. And then we see our buddy Armie come out with this.
I tried hooking up with a dude one time, and it was hilarious because I was like, you know what? Like, women are the worst. Like, gay dudes seem to have it so easy. Like, so easy. I'm at a restaurant, my phone blows up, and it's like Grindr, and like someone else is like, I'm at the same restaurant, do you want a blowjob in the bathroom? And you're like, hey guys, I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and then you get up and you go to the bathroom, you get a blowjob, and you come back and you're like, what was that? Like, I don't know, some guy just sucked my dick. It's like, who? It's like, oh, I don't know, I didn't get his name. Anyway, what'd you order? Yeah,
totally.
I mean, I can follow what he's saying. I've thought that many times that, well, it'd be kind of cool. But I can't bring myself to do that because I'm not attracted. And I find it hard to believe that his life was so bad. Oh, my God, these women, they won't let me brand them. I can't eat their ribs. I've got to be with guys. I got to give it a try. That's ridiculous.
It is a very hack comedy premise. I know that it's been explored in a lot of places, including Family Guy, where Stewie's trying to figure out if he's gay. It's like, oh, it's like where you just hang out with guys out there. It's like, yeah, that sounds great. And so my first thought, and I think a lot of people think, because like I said, it did get picked up by TMZ and other outlets, is this for attention? To get people talking about his show. He's got to say something, oh yeah, I tried hooking up with a dude once. I just thought that would be cool. Or we know his sexuality is fucked. Mm-hmm. And there were rumors about David Bowie and Mick Jagger. I mean, some of these guys get so much pussy. They're like, wow, what else is out there? Let's try some other stuff and see what happens, right?
I don't think bi-curious, though, is just because things are going badly within your choice.
Right. No, that makes zero sense. And that was the point that I was going to make is I'm a straight guy. I have been all my life. So him saying that is bunk. Like we all know that you don't just sit there one day and go, what if I can get a blowjob from a dude in the bathroom? Like,
yeah, of course you can.
That was an oddly specific Grindr reference he made.
Yeah, it just never crosses our mind that we could get blown by a guy. It's just not something that we'd ever want to do.
Yeah, unless, who are we talking about? Oh, JFK allegedly, had that guy that used to blow him. But JFK, it seemed like he was just so ready to release semen at all hours of the day. I mean, he just needed...
So this could be the same thing with Armie Hammer, because there's just dudes who are just horny as hell and just like whatever.
Yeah,
like,
he just needs the nearest orifice will do.
Right. So this is my next clip, 13, talking about giving it a try.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give this a try.
Yeah,
like maybe this actually works for me. Let's give it a try. And I remember I met this dude, handsome, French, the whole thing.
Sure, whole thing.
I was like, okay, this could work. This could work. Let's try this. I remember I started making out with him, and I just remember being like, God, beards. Like, oh, I get why women like it when you shave. Like, this thing is fucking rough. Like, how do I get in there?
Totally.
And I remember I put my arms around him, and I was like, oh my God, and these shoulders are so wide. He's so big. Like, he's almost my height. Like, this is so strange. And it did physically for me, absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Like, didn't, like, not even a twitch.
Yeah.
No,
I
you're
don't have
gay.
to make out with a guy to know that my dick's not going to get hard.
I was going to say, I would think he would have already beat off to the guy. If he was a handsome guy, French, I would think he would have pounded off to him a couple times already. If he's going to go out with him and make out with him.
This seems far-fetched. Like, you could offer me a shit sandwich. I'm never hungry enough to eat a shit sandwich.
Right.
No.
So I'm never thinking like, man, I really do like blowing my load. Maybe if a guy will do it for me, I'll just do that. And also this idea of starting out with a makeout session.
Right.
When he told the story about getting blown in the bathroom, I'm like, okay, that's a hack premise, but whatever. Like, the gay guys are going to start off with like passionate kissing.
Well, and being surprised that he has stubble, that's surprising you. That should be a
gross,
turn on
a
if
beard.
you're really excited about the idea.
Yeah. So this is where we find out the exciting conclusion to his attempt at being gay, my clip 14.
And I remember like we were like making out, and it was kind of like getting hotter and heavier, but I was like going through the motions of like not feeling anything. And then he like reached for my dick, and I was like, you're not going to touch my flaccid penis. Like, this is not going to happen. I'm sorry. And I was like, you know what? I got to stop us here. And he's like, no. And I was like, yeah.
This is like no, I mean, women are beautiful, so like whatever. But like, if I never slept with another woman again, or I slept with 20, it makes no difference to me.
Fair enough.
Danny, we're trying to make news here. This isn't about you. Armie Hammer's talking about almost going down on a dude, and you're like making it about you.
Is this his way of trying to suggest that this whole thing, women treated me so badly, I actually got to the point where I tried this? Because
either that, or he's trying to piss off his mom some more. Because that could also be a thing going on.
She's not going to like that. No, she is a religious freak. Who is this Danny, by the way? Who is she?
She started a couple of things a long time ago. When I looked up her IMDb, it said she was a casting director. So she's bounces around Hollywood, it seems like. She's been in some things, knows some people. Not a great guest.
Wouldn't you think he could get bigger guests than that?
No. I mean, Hollywood has decided they moved on from Armie Hammer, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's that bad. Okay.
But just getting back to that clip real quick, though.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, and I'm on the fence whether this happened or not, because I do believe there are like really horned up guys who just like, screw it, let's try it. In this scenario, he's making out with this dude, and it's weird, and he's a big guy, and he's not used to that. And then the guy
was
goes
getting
to
kind of hot. He said it was getting kind of hot.
Right, yeah, getting hot and heavy. In this scenario, the guy goes to grab his dick, and that's when he stops him. Like that's where I'd want it to start. In this scenario, people are going to clip this and say what they will, but what I'm saying is I'm not gay. Well, but I'd rather like have the guy play with my junk than make it out with the guy.
If he was really curious and it was getting kind of hot, like he said, well, the flaccid penis would probably start getting hard.
Right, you got to jiggle the balls a little bit.
Jingle balls. Yeah,
give a chance.
No, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I think he's trying to get people to listen to his podcast. Maybe. I mean, this is his only income, isn't it? His podcast. That's all he's got.
So. I mean, he comes from a wealthy family, but I think they've cut him off. So yeah,
that's what he said. And you can start a podcast like he did. Some of these people and draw a huge audience very quickly and make money. But he's not doing it so far.
Well, I do have one more clip on here. So this is Danny talking about, this is just, I found this interesting because Danny's talking about how she's an addict and so is Armie Hammer. And so because of that, they're just able to have way more sex than the rest of us. And she explains this.
Oh.
I think that like a lot of addicts, we we don't really care about sexuality because, like, as addicts, like, everyone kind of wants to fuck us. Like, there's two kinds of people in the world. There are people trying to fuck and people who can get fucked, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And addicts just have that survival mechanism. Like, we are people pleasers. We want you to like us. We learned early on if we can be, like, enigmatic and charming. Did you know that sex addicts actually have usually double the hormones in their body?
That's the problem. That's I have double hormones.
No, because I got my hormones tested. I have double hormones in my body.
Double meaning double the amount that you should? Interesting.
On everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I am not a doctor, and I did not consult with a doctor. Maybe you could ask your brother about this. The hormonal imbalance is a thing?
Yeah, I didn't know that information was so readily available.
She has double hormones, all the hormones. Like,
yeah.
What does that, like, how would you test for that? What does that mean?
She's talking out of her ass, isn't she?
Correct.
She's one of those young people, and this is the amazing thing with young people. They know everything at a really young age. It's crazy.
The reason why sex addicts exist is because we just have, like, so many hormones and stuff. What?
No, that would be really easy to fix if that was true.
Yeah. Well, it's twice as many, and it's all of them.
Yeah, sure. I don't think she's talking out of her ass, completely out of her ass. And I can't get over why is he doing this? If that's the best guess he can get, that's ridiculous. He's not going to go anywhere with this.
Also, I know people won't believe me on this, but sober people do fuck.
Hey, they can fuck a lot.
Maybe not this audience, maybe not the Drew Lane Show audience, but trust me, they're out there.
Absolutely. Hey, I see Woke Dad.
Yeah, we got a couple woke dads. I know you're doing everything right now, Brandon.
I got it up.
All right, I'd be remiss if we didn't have a jingle or a stinger or something.
Oh, I'm not going to give you the stinger. Instead, I'm just going to show you
what I was going to ask for. But
I haven't seen Woke Dad in a few weeks.
Okay, so this first clip, we have a story. He's got, his pottery. He makes these mugs, and he had a customer come up with a strange request, so he's got a story for us.
Coffee shop owner, I get some weird requests, but now apparently as a potter, I get some weird requests. I often have pottery at my mobile coffee shop window. This is where I sell most of the stuff. People come up, they really love to look at the new items that just came out of the kiln, and then they pick something that's their favorite. Well, I just had a new customer pull up. I've never seen them before, or at least I don't remember ever seeing them before, and they asked who the potter was, and I told them it was me, and we started talking, and they said, hey, do you do commissions? And I said, well, sometimes. What are you looking for? And they said, well, my dad died last year and I have his ashes and I'd really love his ashes to be made into a mug. And I was a little speechless there for a second. My immediate response was, I'm sorry, I don't work with human remains. But in the back of my head, all I could think of is, I don't want that, because pottery gets in your mouth and all over you and you get covered in it, and I really don't want to be covered in someone's remains. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, you want to drink out of something that has your father's remains in it? I mean, to each their own. But that's not something I'd want to do.
Oh, Woke Dad.
He's so wacky and funny. The interesting thing, though, about this art studio and the kiln, it seems like everything that's coming out of there is by him.
Yep.
It's almost like it's for him.
Yeah, okay. So let's start there, because I was checking out the Blind Mike project. I've been on vacation, so we didn't do Who Are These Socials Thursday, and Mike did a show.
Oh, he's trashing you, Carl.
I know. He always does. It's great. So Mike did a show on his channel without
I didn't know the show was totally written in advance. I didn't know that.
Yes, that was very funny. Tom Myers claimed that my whole show is written in advance and we rehearse it. And we all watch the clips ahead of time, and we have lines that we do.
I didn't even know that.
That would take a lot of time.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have both been on WATP. You're going to lie now to the audience and act like we just do this off the cuff?
It had to come up sooner or later, I guess.
Busted. So anyway, so Mike's on there, and he came up with an epiphany, which we've all kind of figured out, but the way he said this, I was like, yeah, no, it's a great point. And he goes, holy shit. You familiar with vertical integration? Here we have a guy who sells coffee for a living, And then he starts an art studio that just happens to be a place that develops coffee mugs. And so now we have this vertical integration. He's selling coffee. And oh, by the way, you can also buy a mug. And he says that's where he sells most of his mugs as people coming through his drive-through coffee place. I thought this was all like a charitable thing.
It was for the kids.
He's just starting up businesses that all integrate together.
It's so brilliant.
It really is. I mean, this is, I'm kind of pissed that I gave him a few $1,000s towards this art studio. I thought I was going to go to underprivileged kids, but.
Can't he show us these kids and just like obscure their heads or something?
Drew, like I said, I just want to see their art.
Well,
yeah. See the kids.
Yeah,
like, what do they make? What, let's see a mug that they. He claims that he's like teaching his kids how to make mugs and stuff. Like, all right,
let's see the proof.
Maybe we just need more people to get on there and say, "Hey, I don't see any kids at that studio." Aren't people saying that?
No, he must go through and clean out. I always read the comments on these videos, and they're all like, "You go, Dan. You're the best. We need more people like you in the world." It's all positive affirmations.
Oh my God.
But that was another made-up story, though. Could we all agree on that?
Of course, yes, of course.
Yeah. That's a ridiculous thing. That reminded me of like when Kiss put their blood in the ink of their comic book.
Oh, right.
That's like the most ridiculous. Like, can you turn my dad's ashes into a coffee mug? Like, no one's asking that.
No, and they wouldn't go up to him and see just one little mug at his store and go, "Oh my God,
I want this."
That's not an epiphany that would ever happen.
No, definitely not. All right, so let's change gears. Here's a proud dad moment. And this is where the narcissism shines through from our buddy Dan Alexander.
Proud dad moment. My oldest texted me and asked me if I'd bring food for his friend too for after school drama practice because he knew they wouldn't have food. And just a handful of weeks ago, my daughter asked not to have flowers given to her at her play because she knew there were other kids there that wouldn't be getting flowers and she didn't want them to feel left out. When you raise empathetic kids, they do things that are empathetic and kind. They try and uplift others. And I know there are people out there who believe you should be able to lift yourself up by your bootstraps, that if you don't have, then you should just work harder for it. And if you're one of those people, you are not living in reality. Because there are so many people out there working as hard as they physically possibly can, and they're still not making ends meet. So I'm a proud dad. I'm proud to know that I have two kids that understand that they have privilege, and they know how to wield that privilege to uplift and help others. Shouldn't we all be so proud?
You don't have that much shit. You have a fucking mobile coffee shop. Get off your high horse.
Hold on, Drew. I think you're missing the point here. He's so amazing that not only is he amazing, but he has two kids who are also amazing because they watched how amazing he is and they decided that they were going to be also
just like
amazing.
Him.
Wow.
I know. And the way to get past this terrible inequality and privilege is for kids that don't have things to somehow be able to live in a world where other people don't get things.
Right. The other example he gave, I think we played the clip on this show, but if not, he was talking about how his daughter didn't want him to bring flowers for after her performance, whatever theatrical performance she was in, because some kids can't afford flowers or kids' parents can't afford flowers. I said, bullshit. Every kid at that school can afford flowers.
Yeah, why don't you buy flowers for the other kid too, instead of shitting on your kid by not bringing her flowers?
It's just a ridiculous thing to think that like there's going to be some sad sack in the corner after starring in the play who's like, no one threw flowers at me.
It seems like he's pretending that this is a world that he's in that is like, I don't know, 1964, something like that. I mean, really? Do we really think people
he invents a lot of prop? There has to be, in order for a guy like Dan Alexander to thrive, there has to be a lot of problems in the world. And so he's looking for inequalities anywhere he can find them. He loves it.
It still strikes me funny that he acts like he's Mr. White Privilege, like, yeah, me, I've got it all, and I just have to pretend and not flaunt it because I'm so wealthy. The temptation is just to spoil my kids with things like food after school and flowers after a play. He's not that king shit.
Meanwhile, he's got an Amazon wish list full of things like crayons and markers and construction paper.
Yeah.
Like he can't afford these gifts that he gives to the children in his neighborhood. He has to have us buy those things for him.
Wouldn't it be nice if he said, yeah, instead of bringing my child flowers so I don't upset the other child, I'm going to take some things off my wish list and buy them. But no, that doesn't come up.
Or hey, I sold a bunch of mugs, and thanks to your generosity, I'm going to buy this stuff for these kids. No, it's always, hey, go to my Amazon wish list. I added all this stuff. He's got like 5 iPads on there. He's got expensive shit on there that we all have to buy him.
Yeah, and all these kids of, what does he call them, not underprivileged communities or... What's the word?
Vulnerable communities.
Yeah, all those kids. Those kids don't share at all. There have to be 5 iPads, not 2 that the 5 of them can share, even though there's never 5 people there.
I was going to say, there's only been 5 kids in that place. He needs 5 iPads? What, are they going to talk to each other?
No, he was asking for 5 of everything.
Yes, it's crazy what he's up to. Anyway, Dan Alexander, _shoe_fits on TikTok.
Woke dad.
If you need more woke dad in your life.
Can we send some underprivileged kid there? Can we find some fake underprivileged kid that can go there and try to make art?
Infiltrate the building?
How about that handicapped kid that was masturbating at the swim meet? Can we get him?
He was working at a sheltered workshop last I know. He's doing very well, but he might be a little old. Maybe he's got kids. Who knows?
What do you think? Do you think he would also have masturbating handicapped kids? Is that a gene?
He sure didn't want to stop.
It's like Lay's potato chips.
No.
Once you start,
Coach Denk had to yank on his feet. He had to pull his wrist off. It was like, and he was like, "What?" He was pretty close.
It's hilarious.
And he was fucking hung too, like most kids in that arena.
Of course he was.
So it seems. Anyway, hey, what's Dabble House?
Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. We have a big event coming up in April. We're doing a pay-per-view event, and we're all traveling down to Florida. When I say we all, the WATP crew and the Uncle Rico Show, Shuley Network crew. We have, because Kate Meany, Kevin Meany's daughter, the late comedian Kevin Meany, his daughter, formed a friendship with John, and they had all these phone conversations, and Kate Meany recorded them all, and then we played those at DabbleCon 2. Mm-hmm. And then John was mad at Kate, and they had a falling out because he betrayed her, and he got the FBI involved. He got her mom involved, her grandmother, even Greg Fitzsimmons, who's her godfather. He got him involved in it. But then, a few months later, Kate and him are friends again. Yeah, now they're flirting on the phone all over again.
Oh,
it's
boy.
starting all up. And they're having conversations every night. And it actually turned into them meeting up in New York. And we saw photos of it. We saw all this evidence that they're boyfriend and girlfriend now.
In a strip club, making out in a strip club, weren't they?
Yeah, they went to the strip club. He went back to her place and stayed at her apartment. And there was coy about whether anything happened or not. Well, it turns out she was recording all of those calls too. So now what we're calling season 2 of the Kate Meany tapes, we will be playing and reacting to at Dabble House. We're going to be all weekend streaming from this house, and we're going to have a live WATP and a live Uncle Rico show listening to the tapes. If you want to see those, they are going to be pay-per-view available. Go to DabbleCon.live, and that's where you can sign up to stream it. Right now we have an early bird special, and you get actually 3 different pay-per-view, because we're also going to do a viewer film festival contest.
Oh,
so people can submit films. We're going to have more information about that, but we have a lot of great creators in the Dabbleverse.
Yeah.
So we'd love to see what other people come up with and send in. So it's going to be a great event. It's going to be all weekend. We'll be live on YouTube, but we'll also be on behind the paywall for these shows where we're doing the tapes 2. Or season 2 of the tapes with Kate Meany
at Dabble House.
I can't believe she was taping him when that whole time she was making out with him. She had her hands all over him. He thought, oh my God, she's into me. She was taping the calls.
He literally said on his show after they hung out that night that they had fallen in love. He thought that they had fallen in love, and meanwhile, she was recording him the whole time for fodder.
She's that diabolical?
Yes, it's great.
Wow, I'm just stunned. I'm blown away by that.
I can't believe he would fall for it again.
So is the FBI going to be summoned again? Are we going to have to waste a lot of their time?
He claims he filed 3 different reports with the FBI the first time she was recording his calls because he was in California and that's a one-party consent state. It's illegal and federal crimes are being broken.
Well, he's left the Dabbleverse, so he can't comment on this one, can he?
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, well, he is on Twitter and Facebook quite a bit. If you go to Dabblers Anonymous, people post. It's mostly political stuff.
Yeah, he's got a lot of political opinions.
He's active.
How many views did his stupid show with Richard Roper get or whatever? Did people watch it?
That's a good question. I wonder if it's still up. I haven't even checked.
Because his political shows are terrible. No one watches them. They're awful.
Like I said, when I was in Lukenbach, I did pull it up on my phone just to see that if he was going live. There's probably like 350 people watching it. So it wasn't like this huge event that everyone's like, oh, I can't wait to go see this.
3.7 thousand.
Richard Roper is a national movie guy. I mean, that's a big name. So I bet Richard Roper did much, much larger interviews about the Oscars. That's pretty bad.
That's doing a favor for an old friend right there.
Yeah, I guess. So Kate Meany, I can't believe she did that. That's incredible. Wow.
It's fun. We're going to have a good time. So yeah, look, if you go to DabbleCon.live, you will see the dates on there. And we will be in Florida. There might be a meetup or something if people are listening from Florida, but it's Friday, the 11th of April, and then Saturday, the 12th.
Whatever happened with the phones that were stolen? Remember the night when she was making out with John and all the pictures, which blew everyone's mind, mine included. John and his brother's phone were stolen. And Kate said hers was stolen too, didn't she?
Yes, there were 3 phones missing after that night. And John had a huge conspiracy theory about what happened. And there was this other guy involved and he must have stolen the phones. And then they just kind of went away. And then no one talked about it ever again.
I felt 100% certain that she stole them.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Who leaves their phones out and lets people steal them in front of them, unless, maybe when they went to the bathroom or something, she stole them. How could 3 people's phones get stolen at one place? That's impossible.
No. Okay, yes, agreed. No one stole their phones. My theory is that John's blackout drunk in the back of a cab, and that's where his phone went. And the other 2 probably still have their phones and just went, yeah, ours got stolen too.
Yeah, hers was never stolen. But I don't know about his brother. That's odd.
Yeah, that is odd.
I don't know why she would steal his phone. Who knows? With him, anything's possible. But yeah, I heard some other stuff about that night. I don't know who was talking. You could probably refresh my memory. I thought I heard John talking to somebody who was claiming that John had said she slept on a mattress with no sheets or something. And did you hear that conversation?
Yeah, he was talking about her apartment. So she's in a 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. And it sounded like it wasn't the best kept place.
There might have been blood. She might have slept on a bloody mattress or something.
Yeah, there was comments about that, but it's rich of John to say anything because there was a story where Harold Sparks went over to John's house to show him how to plug in an Ethernet cable. I'm not even exaggerating. Hal drove from Vegas to LA to show John how to plug in an Ethernet cable into his computer so his streams would work better. And Harold Sparks made the comment that you can't bring women back here. You have to put some sheets on your bed. Literally went to John's bedroom and was appalled by what he saw.
I definitely have a double standard, though. I definitely do not expect chicks not to have a sheet on a mattress. That seems like something chicks just don't do. That seems really skanky. But John
how many cokeheads have you dated, Drew?
John was shushing the person, though. I think John didn't want it revealed or was trying to say he didn't say that or something, but I seemed pretty plain what was going on.
I stick up for my girlfriend, too. I get it.
Yeah, that's right. Did he say he was in love with her? Did he say that?
He said they were in love with each other. Oh, it's one of the greatest things. God, Kate really it's a mean thing to do, but there's no one more worthy of that type of thing to happen to him than John. So it's very funny.
Oh, that was a burn. Wow. Yeah. And all the clips, someone surely will compile or has compiled all the clips of John saying, I would never date somebody younger than my daughter. That's crazy. I have no interest in it whatsoever. Then on to, of course, him being in love with her or whatever. Because he said at the very beginning, he's like, I have no interest in her. No, I'm too paternal.
That was the thing about season 1 of the tapes when we played him at DabbleCon 2. John was always saying that he wasn't flirting with her. He wanted nothing to do with her. She's too young. So now we know that he was trying to bang her and that he did fall in love with her. So I'm very interested to hear what these conversations are like.
Yeah, and the calls are, listening to him try to impress her is so embarrassing. It's so hard. Man. Oh my God, it's brutal.
I thought his stand-up was bad. Wait till you hear him trying to pick up a chick.
And this is round 2. Oh wow, that's wild. All right, Carl. So Dabble House, and where do you go to sign up?
DabbleCon.live.
Okay, so it's called DabbleCon, not Dabble House.
Well, it is Dabble House. I'm just using the same URL we used last year for the stream.
Cost savings.
We had DabbleCon 2. You could buy the stream of it, or you can come to Rochester and see it live. This year, we're just making it easy for everyone. You can just stream it and just go to DabbleCon.live.
And there'll be additional live streaming, I assume, in addition to the shows.
Yep, we'll be up on mine and Shuli's YouTube channels from the house. We'll probably go out and do different activities, and we'll be hanging out all weekend, so it's going to be a good time.
Cool. All right, Carl. Have fun.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And also check out Who Are These Podcasts live tomorrow. That's Wednesday, whenever you're listening to this. Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern with my buddy Adam Bush and producer Chris. We're going to have a couple of guests on, including a guy who wrote an article about the Dabbleverse for a magazine called The Critic in the UK.
Oh, wow. Really?
So that'll be fun. Yes.
Expanding globally.
Awesome.
We are.
All right,
guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one. See ya.